Welcome back to Raj Gets Real, the baseball edition, where we have unscripted conversations about everything baseball. Our goal here is to help educate and share everything we know about the game of baseball. And here's your host, Roger Gonzalez. What's going on, guys? So we're back today to another episode with a good friend of mine, and Trace Loehr. Met this guy back in the day in Beloit when we were playing with the Oakland A's. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about what he's been up to. He's had a pretty interesting career. High school draft guy. Been how many years you've been in the league now?
I think this is my seventh year. I think
7
sixth
years.
Full.
So you've been playing ball for what?
Quite a while.
20 how many years?
I've been playing baseball since I was 3. So I'm 26 now, so 23 years, and then professionally since 2014. So I've been playing for a while.
Yeah. So we had 23 years, you said, of baseball and 7 years of professional baseball. That's like a big time career. That's not like, that's no joke anymore. You know, like that's your whole life.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So let's kind of get it going. Let's get started. Let's talk. One of the main things I wanted to talk to you about was as a high school draftee. Because I was the opposite, and I know that that's a challenge. Talk to us about your story on that. How that process was for you. Are you happy with it? Would you change it? All that good stuff.
Yeah, well, I got drafted in 2014 out of high school. I was committed to Oregon State, which at the time they're the best team in the nation, pretty much. And pretty much when I was a sophomore in high school, I was pretty much getting scouted by major league scouts, and they're telling me, hey, like most likely you're not going to need to go to school. And then I had Oregon State and all these colleges saying that you need to go to school, so there's a bunch of pressure coming into it, and when the draft happened, I was pretty set on wanting to go play baseball. I'm not a really big school guy like yourself. I just wanted to go out and play baseball, and I was projected in the top three rounds. And year beforehand, there was a guy who went to Oregon State, and he was going to get signed by the Phillies in the 4th round for like close to $400K. And now in the new draft, it's like you have your pool of the first 10 rounds, right? So you have to make sure you're signable. And the guy got signed by the Phillies. The Oregon State ends up going to the College World Series. And he changed his whole mind. He was like, nope, I'm not going to go. So the Phillies ended up losing $400K. So why that's like means anything for my draft year is because I was a pretty high draft pick with the A's, obviously, but I was supposed to be in the top 3. And I was getting calls going, hey, like, would you sign for this amount of money in the 4th round, 5th round? I'm like, I'm telling you, like, I just want to sign for 3rd round money. And no one wanted to give it to me because they thought I wasn't going to sign.
Because the same thing that happened to the other guy.
What my draft was like was because of somebody else the year prior. So it was a whole it was a whole thing. So
that's very interesting. Is there anything that you think now, like many years back, you could have done differently to kind of change that? Or it's just kind of out of your control?
It was just kind of out of my control. There wasn't really much I could do because they were worried about Oregon State like swaying my side. So I had a bunch of teams that were really heavy on me early. They're like, we don't really know if we're going to want to sign him because Oregon State, if they're able to sway a guy who's already been there, they could easily just do to a high school guy, be like, hey, look, like we're going to the College World Series every year. Like no reason to go to pro ball. So it kind of affected me in that way. I thought for sure that I was going to go to college, and then I got a call probably in the 5th round saying that the A's wanted to sign me in the 10th round. And then that's what I agreed to, the terms and all that with the money. And then what ended up happening is I guess the Red Sox were going to take me in their next pick. So my agent pretty much put the pressure on the A's like, hey, like the Red Sox are going to take him next pick. What are you going to do? And then they ended up selecting me in their next pick in the 6th.
So you ended up going in what round? In the
6th round. Yeah.
Okay.
192nd pick. Yeah.
That's a huge accomplishment, man. That's like a big deal. So congratulations on that. And I mean, I was actually, so yeah, we were talking about, we had some little technical difficulties. So if it sounds a little weird, just bear with us. So we were talking about how you were a 6th round draft pick, and what I was going to get at you was in episode 2, I talked with Mikey Pies. I don't really know if you know him. He was the shortstop for Coastal Carolina when they won the
Mm-mm.
national championship, and he ended up being a pretty high draft pick by the Mets. And he talked about how the organization that you get picked at really, really matters. Unfortunately, so there's not really much that you can do about it, but that the way they handle stuff is
Mm-hmm.
very different. And what I
Very.
wanted to ask you on that was like going from a very high draft pick that you were, did you notice big differences, or how did you notice like going into pro ball like that?
Oh man, I mean, for me, I'm like the perfect story of like I would got drafted. I'm a prospect for 2 years at a high school, and I didn't perform as well as I think the A's and I thought I was going to straight out of high school. Whether or not that I felt like they should have helped me more with my hitting and kind of my approach to it doesn't really matter. But I mean, going from a prospect for 2 years to then completely going off the list, um, Baseball America and then, the Oakland Athletics, like top 30, you can tell just how they kind of treat you within the organization, just like as you're playing. Um, I mean, for me, I get drafted out of high school and I'm thinking that I'm going to get all the opportunity in the world. And then, you know, as I'm getting kept down in low A, I'm seeing these guys that are getting drafted out of college and they're just getting shot up to the organization. So when, as you're getting drafted out of high school, you're like, oh, wow, like I'm going to have a true shot. Like they're going to give me all these chances. But that's not the case. I mean, that's what they say for you to get signed, because they don't want you to go to college. They want to invest in you, and, they want you to, play well. And if you don't, they got a bunch of other guys that'll do it. And I just realized that with the A's, they're more of a college organization. If you look at a lot of their draft guys, I mean, they do take chances with some high school guys, but mainly the guys that they get are all college guys. So, if I would have known that sooner when I was trying to get drafted, I probably would have said no to the A's, because I would have been like, you guys, aren't going to develop me from the high school standpoint. They like to take guys from college and then kind of like develop them into their type of player.
That's very interesting. Do you think you actually had control in that? If you would have had more knowledge on the differences of the organizations, you think you could have been like, nah, I don't really want to go with your organization?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like, a lot of the guys that, their dads or, their brothers played ball, like they seem to have the knowledge that comes behind it. So if I could just always attest to like guys that come from that, they don't really get like messed with or fucked with, because the organization knows that like these guys know what's going on, and like we can't like go around and be like, oh, like you're great, oh, but like this is what we're thinking behind your back. No, it's like you got to come straight to me. And I felt like as a high school kid being put out there, you're pretty vulnerable. So like even when I had thoughts, I didn't ask questions because I thought this is just how it was, you know.
I mean, the reality of it was that you were a kid being thrown into like a grown man's like game and life, and
Exactly.
uh,
And
I, I wanted to ask, because I pretty much asked this for everybody. At what point did you realize that baseball was no longer a game and it was a business?
um, well, I always knew it. Um, that's what everybody says, but like it never really affected me until 2019.
Ooh.
Um, I so like get drafted out of high school. I struggled for 3 years, and for me, I just like took it kind of as college years. I was like, I struggled, but I learned a lot, and I'd much rather get the pro experience than I guess the college right now. And so then my 4th year in 2018, I started hitting way better. Made the all-star team. Everything was great. Got called up to high A finally. End of the season, everything was good. 2019 rolls around, and I'm a backup the first month. I'm not playing at all, and then finally I get to play, and then I'm hitting 300 for the whole year in 2019. It's getting close to the All-Star break, or not the All-Star break, but the trade deadline, and everyone in the organization knows how hard I work and everything like that. So they're excited to see I was having a good year, and they traded Kevin Merrill to the Kansas City Royals, who's a shortstop with us, and I'm getting texts. I'm in Rancho Cucamonga playing the Dodgers, and I'm getting texts going, "Hey man, like you're finally getting your call up, to Double A. Like they traded Kevin. Like there's a spot open for you. Like let's go." And I'm like, I'm excited, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, kind of how things have been going, the past 3 to 4 years, kind of just with how they're keeping me down and calling guys up. I was like, I don't know if I should get too excited, dude. 2 hours go by, they signed a dude out of the Atlantic League, a 29-year-old infielder, and they signed
Wow.
him instead of moving me up to Double A. So I was like, instead of a homegrown kid that you drafted, you decided to sign somebody else from the Atlantic League because they're older, might have had more experience. But I was like, dude, like I'm showing you that I'm being consistent for 2 years, and you're not pushing me up in your system. So it kind of showed me where it was like, if they don't like you, like you can go fuck yourself, really. Like, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At that point, you're just playing for other teams.
That and at that point you were actually producing. It wasn't like you were in a
Dude,
slump at the moment or anything like that, which would at least you would have understood that a little bit better.
yeah, exactly. But it was like, wow, now I'm finally like showing you guys like what I'm capable of, and I'm showing you the consistency that you guys have been asking for. And then you're not going to promote me. I ended up getting promoted to AAA that year for the last month of the season, but it was, I mean, in my opinion, I was the next best guy that they could have brought up to sit the bench. You know what I'm saying? Just to be there and be solid. So it wasn't really like truly a promotion. It was kind of like, oh, like he's doing well here. He's been around. Let's just throw him in AAA and see how he does. And I performed well. Which was nice. But to me, thinking about it like where I am now in AAA, like it's like that was just for them, just to throw me up there, just to be like, oh, here you go, like here's your shot and see what you can do. But it wasn't like a true shot because I wasn't playing every day, or what I'm saying.
So if I were to throw that back at you, and this is what it gets really tough because every single guy has their own story, and we're always
Mm-hmm.
blinded by what we see, and we never really know what the organization's really thinking. I mean, they're running through finances and million of different guys, and you've seen how many
Mm-hmm.
people are actually making all those calls and whatnot. But what I wanted to kind of throw at you was, do you regret signing out of high school? Do you wish you would have gone to college? Do you think it would have changed? Maybe not regret the right word, but
I get that question a lot, and I think the honest answer with that is I'm gonna have to wait and see to when my career is over. I think that's a question that can kind of be like, well, I mean, maybe if I went to college, I would have had, more experience at a higher level. Maybe they would have shot me through. I mean, but who knows, man? I mean, if I would have went to college, like, the perfect story is, I go to college and win a college World Series and I'm an All-American and, first rounder, that's the picture that they paint you. But who knows, man? Like I could have got hurt. Anything could have happened, and my draft stock could have went low. So, I mean, with the money that I signed for was substantial enough for my family and I to, to be good off of it. So it was kind of a no-brainer. But I mean, that's a tough question, honestly.
yeah, and it's really hard for some guys to answer it because they don't it's like you said, I have to wait for my career to end. If you end up in the league, then it's yeah, I made the right decision. If you don't, then maybe
Mm-hmm.
not. But I think a really good point that you said was, the money was life changing for my family. And that number can be very different for a lot of different families. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it all depends on your situation. It all depends on, are you the one who's going to get your family out of everything? Or, like so, and I'm sure that was like a big part of what happened. It was just you couldn't let go of that opportunity.
Exactly. And it was a big opportunity. And my family, we didn't, grow up with much. So with that type of money, it was like it was like a game show almost, where it was like, oh, here we go. Like this is life-changing money, like deal or no deal. Here we go. I'll press the button on that one.
That's awesome. No, I mean, but again, it's also crazy to think about it. I was just thinking about since you were talking how the reality is you work 20, let's say 16 years like for for
Long
that
time.
money. It's not like guys think, oh, he just signed and he just finally got that money. No, you worked 16 years without pay for that. And you were investing.
Mm-hmm.
Like every hitting lesson was an investment, every travel
Yep.
tournament, all that kind of stuff was just it's like opening a business. You're just investing, hoping that you hit. And fortunately for you, you did. And That's interesting, man. I also wanted to ask you, because as you were talking about the process of moving and minor league ball, and when they were actually calling, like when they were traded for Kevin and whatnot. For me, it went mental. For me, it was like, dude, that's so tough. Like mentally, you were like, no, I can't let
Mhm.
myself um, get my hopes up, this and that. How did you deal with that? Like, how did you control yourself? Because you were 23, 22,
24. I was
24.
24. So, I mean, it's it was tough, but it didn't, like, when it happened, I was just kind of like, well, kind of expected that to go that way. Like, once it was like, once I felt like once 2015 was up, that was kind of like really the last year that they gave me, or 2016. I mean, that was kind of the last year they gave me. Like, I, they didn't play me at all really in 2015. Um, and, then they had me go to play shortstop in Beloit, and I struggled really bad. Like, I had 22 errors or something like that. Like, didn't hit very well at all. It was a horrible year. Um, and I felt like after that, they just kind of gave up on me, and they didn't really care for my improvements, even though that was improving on kind of the scale that they wanted me to. I mean, I remember in 2018, like, I felt like I should have been in high A, and I had one of the higher up, scouting directors come up to me and go, well, I know you're upset right now, and the only thing that, like, we want you to work on is walking. So they literally kept me down in low A for an extra year to work on walking. So I remember 2018, I would go up and tell my teammates, I'd go, well, I'm going to draw a walk this at bat. Like, it was like, well, you want me to walk? Like, okay, I'll do that. And I literally just stand up there until I got 2 strikes and just like try to foul stuff off just so I could walk, just to show them, like, my walk rate is going up so that they would, like, send me up. And they did.
That is crazy, bro. Like I had never heard a story like
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
um, okay, then I'll throw it back at you. Do you feel like that made any impact in your career?
No, because I don't go up to walk now. And
No,
it's
but I
funny
mean,
because
let's take a step back. Let's take a step back. Let's try to look at it from positive. I get it. I get it. But do
yeah,
you think that at all opened up your eye? Do you think it allowed you to see pitches better or anything like that? Or not even close? Like, nah, bro.
I felt like it was the same. Like, I
Okay.
really didn't feel like it was any different. I mean, I think maybe I took closer pitches, like, 3-2, or, um, you know, so I did get my walks better that way than 3-2 counts. But other than that, like, I've been an aggressive hitter my whole entire life. So, like, telling me, like, that you need to walk more, that's kind of like the wrong, it's kind of the wrong, like, what, like, thing for you to do. That your thing that they should have told me is, hey, like, we would want to see you walk more, but, like, you're getting out, your balls put in play aren't as good as we want them to be because you're missing pitches early in the count. That's what they should have said. Not,
Mm.
oh, we want you to walk more. Walking comes from, um, the guys who walk more are the guys who miss pitches early in the count. Like, you never see guys that are good at hitting early in the count walk, because what do? They put the ball in
The play,
play.
play, play.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So they could have easily just said, hey, like, you're getting out more than we would like you to because of this reason. You know what I'm saying? Not just, well, we want you to walk more, because hitting, it's a controlled aggression. But if I'm going up there thinking I need to walk, where's the aggression?
There's none.
There's none. I'm passive. I already lost. I can't go hit against a guy who's throwing 95 to 100 going, well, I think I'm just going to take a couple pitches here and see what happens, and see, if he doesn't locate, then I'll just take first base. It should be,
Yeah.
no, I'm here to send the ball forward when I get my pitch, not miss it. So that's kind of where they missed.
I mean, we know the analytics, and we can talk a little bit about that. How, at least for me, I mean, I was still an older guy when I got into, with the A's and stuff, but I was really impressed by how much analytics there was in pro ball, like from Stat
Hmm.
Tracker and everything that they did. And especially with the A's, that's like, we've all seen Moneyball and all that stuff. Like, how
Hmm.
how do you stay away from the analytical side and just play the game? Because like right there, what they're telling you is walk more, and they're talking to you through analytics. How do you, as
Yeah.
a player, kind of take that step back and be like, okay, great, numbers are numbers, but I need to perform?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, at the time, like I said, at the time, I was I was like, well, how do I walk more? Like, how do you want me to do that? And I feel like the analytics that they should have just been worried about was like just hard contact rate and ball put in play rate. Like that's all you should really care about, because like if I can hit the ball hard every time and put it in play, my shot is pretty high.
100%.
Um, and I just felt like the whole idea was just, passive hitting. I don't think that's gonna work, and that's why a lot of guys, I don't think,
I,
blossom. Not
I wonder if there
say
was
that again.
something to I wonder if there was something to say about, that you're a speed guy also. Maybe they're just trying to get you to
Mhm.
first and then have you steal some bags. Maybe would you think that had anything to do with it?
Well, what's funny is like the organization is like talks about how they want you to steal so much, but no one really in the organization does steal. And then it was kind of like, if you get caught stealing, it was like, well, why did you steal? Like, this guy's hitting like this and that. So it was do this, but then if you don't do it like correctly, then then why are you doing it? So it's like it was like always an in between of like, do I do it or do I not? Because if I do it and get out, well, there's gonna be a problem. But then if I do it, then it's a good thing. But then it was just never like there's never really, I never felt like the freedom of being able to go out there and steal bases.
Interesting.
Like if like with the Rangers right now, they want us to go run and get count. They want us to go, and it's not like in spring training where it's like, oh yeah, we want you to go run, but then during the season, hey, pull it back. No, it's where we're going, and I like that type of style.
Yeah, because you're an aggressive ball player. You're just trying to get moved. Let's
Mhm.
go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I mean, that's kind of
Let's go.
how you are. So let's take a little shift. Let's go from that. So, in I know that you got released from Oakland and played indie ball for a little bit. Kind of tell
Mhm.
us what happened there. Was that COVID? Was that something else? And how was that transition from
Yeah.
you know organizational ball to indie ball? Not saying indie ball is not organizational, but we're talking about like an actual organization.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I was last year was gonna be it was my free agent year. So I was supposed to ball out and have a good year and get re-signed, and then COVID messed it up. So I didn't have a chance to get re-signed. So I was just a free agent, and I ended up getting signed by the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks, who are actually playing today, for the wild card game. So go Hawks. Um, but going into it, you know, being kind of a bonus baby and stuff, like I was always telling myself I would never play independent ball. Like, no, fuck that. Like that's, never do it. And then when I like what was the last option, it was like, all right, this is what we're gonna have to do, like to get back into organizational ball. And when I got there, I was like, this is fun. Like I was like, honestly, I want to get re-signed by an organization, but if I'm here the whole rest of the year, I would not mind it, because the guys that we had was a great collective group, and independent ball is just like AAA big league baseball. And the fact of like, you show up and you're just there to play baseball. Like you're not there at 2 p.m. doing freaking the circus drill or like in and out and all that stuff. It's like, no, you show up to get your body ready and to perform that day and to play. And it was really fun. And just the little things like having beer in the clubhouse, and just the fun aspect of that. And it was a great experience. And then I was with them for about a month, and then we played 5 preseason games, and then we went down south to Texas to play 3-game series there for for opening day, and then we went to Kansas City, played 3 games, and then I played 1 game at home, so a total of 7 games, and I got signed by Texas.
How
Um,
were your numbers then, or do you think they were just looking at you before?
I think they might have just been looking at me before, because I was like 260, 270, like the season just started type stuff, and I was just playing really good defense. And I feel like the only thing that makes sense is maybe in Texas, because we were like pretty much in Dallas, Claiborne, Texas. So I think maybe I made some good plays and stuff there and had some good at bats. So I think maybe they saw me down there and were like, hey, let's take a shot with him, since he's just a free agent anyways. So um, then I got signed with them and went to Frisco, Texas, which is AA. I was there for 2 weeks, and then they called me up to AAA for a week, sent me back down to AA, was there for 2 weeks, and then they were going to call me back up to AAA, but then I didn't have my vaccine, so I couldn't go on Sunday because they can't do testing. So then they had to keep me down, and then they kept me down for another week, and then they sent me back up to AAA. So I've been up here since for like probably a month and a half, 2 months now. But for the
Wow.
first little bit when I got signed, I was going back and forth here and there. Like it was kind of sucked, but
So
it was nice to be back in Oregon.
I want to kind of not teach a little bit, but kind of get some knowledge for the guys. How do you, going back and forth like that? Like, how do you stay in your routine? How do you stay mentally checked? How do you kind of figure out?
It's hard. It's really hard because especially like you want to play and coming into an organization as a free agent, unless you get signed for a lot of money, I mean, you're really here just kind of as a backup. So being able to stay in your routine and just like understanding that, you could be playing every day in independent ball, but like my whole goal was to get back in organized baseball again. So you have to kind of take with a grain of salt when you're not playing and saying, hey, like I should just be grateful for the opportunity, and I should just get my work here because, it goes a long way, and scouts, come to batting practices and, come to the games and everything. So I think the more that you can show that you can take that role, it really does show like just like your mental toughness, because if you feel like you should be playing every day and you're not, like there's a time 3 weeks ago, or I guess a month now, where I didn't play for 10 days and I was in AAA. Like they had their guys, they called down the guy from the big leagues and they called the dude up from AA. So I was literally behind 2 extra infielders, so I was just sitting on the bench for 10 days, and I just stayed with my routine, and been playing pretty much every day for the past 3 weeks and hitting 300 right now. So like not for the year, but just for this past 3 weeks. And I feel like me being able to just take a step back and realize, hey, like there's nothing that's going to help me for being salty. All it's going to do is make me worse. And one of our managers now, it's a great term that I like. He says, you're either going to get better or you're going to get better. Which one are you going to do? And you got to pick better every single time, every time.
I mean, there's no point of being bitter, right? But it's what is that?
It's the easiest thing to do.
100%.
It's the easiest thing to do. And thinking about it right now, like we're having this conversation, being bitter is the easy way out. It's the easy way out, because it's easy to go, why me, sulk here, sulk there, instead of just being, hey, like we're gonna fucking do this right now. Like it's gonna suck, but it's the only option besides just taking the easy way out.
So have you noticed that that's like a conversation that you kind of have with yourself, or do you feel like that's already like your second nature? It's like, all right, I already get it. Let's go.
For me, it was definitely second nature. Just coming from my dad and everything, like it was never really touting or anything like that. It was just like whatever the cards are dealt with, like that's what you're here for. So I mean, you can be upset about it, but all it's going to do is it's just going to make you worse. It's not going to get you any better, and it's going to take the fun away from it. And that's kind of what's tough about professional baseball, is like you're so caught up on the end goal of wanting to make it to the major leagues and make millions of dollars, and you forget like that you need to take it day by day and second by second. And if you're too worried about what's going to happen in a month from now, it's going to take away what's happening right now, and right now is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of trying to enjoy the game. That's something that I've talked in a couple different episodes. And I would say that when I was with the A's, I did not enjoy the game anymore. And for example, the Tatis and those kind of guys, you watch them play, man, those guys are just having fun. And that's why they're performing. So it's very interesting. Do you want to talk about your pops at all, or you want to leave that out?
Yeah, we can if you want.
Okay, I'll cut that part out. I just wanted to make sure I asked you before, because I know.
Yeah.
So I know you've had a pretty interesting little past. What's going on with your pops in the last about year? How long ago was it that it happened?
Freaking April 14th.
April 14th. So that was 3 months ago, right? April, May, June, July. 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So so your father passed away, and do you want to kind of talk a little bit about how his role in your life was with baseball and how much his season means to you and any of that kind of stuff. And I mean, I'm sure it's been so challenging for you, and, sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I mean, appreciate that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for my dad, I mean, I wouldn't be playing baseball. Like ever since I remember, I either had a baseball in my hand or a basketball in my hand. It was one of the two. And um, growing up, we had short season with the Colorado Rockies. So I went to those games when I was 3 years old. And then in 2001, they made it AAA for the Padres. So from like 2001 to 2008, I would go to games every single day because luckily my mom worked for Alaska Airlines for a while, and she had to deal with like the traveling for the Portland Beavers. So the travel guy was like, just hit me up any day that your husband and your kid want to go to a game. So like we literally go, my dad and I, every day during the summer we would go, we'd practice, and then we'd go to a Beaver game, and I get a
That's
bunch of
awesome.
autographs and do the whole thing. So um, being able to share those experiences with him, and kind of seeing pro ball like every day, like up close and personal, definitely I think helped me grow a love for the game for sure. And I just remember we after every day of school we'd go practice, and then I remember really young as a kid, because he was like, well, he's like, I think in his head he was like, he's really talented, but how am I going to get him to go out there and play? So like I really loved Hot Wheels. So he was like, if you go out here and play baseball, like I'll get you a couple Hot Wheels. So I had like a big crate of Hot Wheels for a long time. So I think that happened for a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, he definitely kind of put the stepping stones in place to kind of just have my career take off. And yeah, I mean, I give him and my mom, I give them pretty much all the credit for what's going on right now.
I love that, man. Did your pops play ball?
He played until high school, but no, he didn't play college or anything like that.
So he just kind of knew the basics of the game. He didn't really know the business of the game and everything else that it
Yeah,
entails. Okay. Okay.
exactly. Yeah, he I don't know if you've seen it. It's the Glorious Bastards of Baseball. It's on Netflix. It's about
I
the
think
Portland Mavericks. My dad, he bat boyed for them. He wasn't on the show, but he was one of their bat boys for like a couple months and stuff. So that's where he kind of like grew his a lot of his love for the game, because he was going on the bus trips and seeing all these pro guys acting crazy.
yeah. Well, I mean, that. I'm sure he had a bunch of conversations and saw the game and learned and asked. So I'm sure he actually had a
Mhm.
lot more of knowledge than we can think of. So how was the go ahead.
Just one story is just so hilarious. So I'm playing t-ball, and in t-ball, the kids like they'll like hold the ball out or whatever, and my dad's like just so old school. He's like, if those kids like hold the ball out, just slap it out of their hand. So I'm a t-ball, and I'm like going to home plate, and the catcher like put the ball in his hand. I just fucking slapped it out of the kid's hand and go to home plate. And the other parents like, what the hell's going on? Like, da, da, da. And my dad comes up, he's like, okay, well, you can't do that now. He's like, so if he's just gonna stand in front of the plate, just run him over.
That's even
So
more aggressive.
I've been dude is teaching me like 70s style baseball. Like he wanted me to just Pete Rose the catcher. And I'm like, I hit a ball, I'm coming around third base, and the catcher's standing up front. And I just remember like just vividly just going full speed into this catcher and just laying him out. And like I think I might still have the scar on my elbow actually. And I laid this kid out, and I just remember the parents just screaming at him. And after the game, there like it was like a mob of parents, and my dad was in the center of this circle, and the parents are like just screaming. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't be teaching your kid how to do this. He's like, what? Like, I'm just teaching him how to play baseball. I don't know, like, what do you want me to do? Like, so but
Wow.
anyways, yeah.
So I'm actually going to keep this going. So do you think that that had a huge part in why you were such an aggressive ball player? Because you're an aggressive guy.
Oh, yes, 100%. Like he was like, you're not going to be the tallest guy. He's like, look at me, I'm not tall at all. Like you're going to have to out hustle people, and you're going to have to be aggressive. You're just going to have to play like that style of baseball. Like you're not going to be a big donkey. You can just like hit a bunch of home runs and kind of slag it out. Like you're going to have to go, and you're going to have to be gritty and just do the damn thing every day.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of a story now. My brother, because my brother was pretty much one of the main ones that kind of taught me the game, and he used to always tell me, "You're gonna even if your grandma's playing first base, you're gonna run her over. If you got to get to second base
Yeah,
and she's in the way, you run her over. It don't matter who's there." Like, and it's just that
doesn't.
mentality from a smaller guy. It's that bulldog mentality that you just got to have, man.
You have to, or you're going to get weeded out really quick because they're not going to take a guy who already might not have, a plus tool in whatever category and be small and dog it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you dog it and you're small, like you better rake. Like that's your only shot.
Was Pedroia one of your big role models?
Pedroia was definitely a role model of mine. I would say Eckstein, David Eckstein was probably like bigger in that category with like smaller guys like that. Um, just cool. I got to meet him in 2013 and kind of talk to him about like what his routine. Talk about routine. That guy, crazy on the routine, dude. Like he would wake up, obviously same time. He would eat the same thing every single day. Like I'm not saying like one day I'm gonna go to Cracker Barrel and do this. No, he had like I forget what it was, but let's just say it was just like orange chicken and chow mein. He had that every day before he went to the field for his whole entire career.
Is that
That's routine.
superstition or routine?
He said that he was like I was not a big guy, and like for me to get my brain and my body into feeling like I'm gonna go out there and kick some ass, like I have to do the same thing every day or I feel like I'm off.
So let's take that jump. Let's go into routine. When did you realize how important a routine was? Because I feel like any guy that's in professional baseball is gonna say routine's super important. Like that's not
Yeah.
there's no discussion of that.
I would say, I mean, immediately routine is important just for daily life in general, but baseball, like I learned it when I was 23, when my body started not to feel like I was 19 again.
Yeah,
And I'm
23-year
like,
old complain about their body. What the heck?
yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, I was like, I need to do some corrective exercises and foam roll now and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I always knew it was a big thing, but like being young, like I could just go out there and eat whatever I wanted and pretty much do whatever I wanted. And my body felt great. And then once I felt like I hit 23, it was like, all right, dude, like you need to start like preparing your body for what's going on. Because if you just go out there, it's just like the analogy, what they say is like, you're not going to take a race car and just go 0 to 60. Like you got to tune it up, and rev it up and get it going. You can't just go out there and play.
That's so spot on. What about hitting wise? Did you find something that because I the other day I had a hitting lesson and I haven't given a hitting lesson in so long, and I realized that the kids I was like, all right, I want to see what you guys do, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna put the ball here, I'm just gonna swing, I'm gonna put it here, I'm gonna swing. I'm like, but why? Like, why? What is that
Mhm.
doing for you? Like, what is your mentality?
Yeah.
So, kind of talk a little bit about that for you.
Yeah. So definitely like the routine that I have now, I love a lot. And it's really, I mean, obviously it gets you ready for the game and, it gets your mechanics in tuned and stuff. But I feel like for me, like if I don't feel like I'm doing my hitting routine, then I don't have that confidence that I should have during the game. Because if like for me, like I like to do long soft toss. So like I'll have the guy stand like in between like where soft toss and like BP would be, and I'll have him soft toss. And for me, it's like if I can feel comfortable and like getting my body stacked and I can feel good and transfer energy and move a ball forward and not let my wrists flop over. Like I feel confident and I feel like I can hit anybody in the world. You know what I'm saying? But if there's some days where I feel like it might be off, like even if I do my routine and I feel like it's off, like um it might not transpire into the game because I'm like worried about a mechanic here, a mechanic there. So the routine just kind of like pushes the mechanical aspect out of the way to where when I go to the game, I can just perform.
So I love how you're saying that. So for you is the routine or how much, okay, let's try to break it up by percentage, right? Like 100% of your whole routine. How much of that percent is just loosening up the body and getting itself going? And then how much of it is like mental cues that you're trying to establish that you're like, all right, I got my confidence today. Let's go.
Yeah, I think honestly, that's a great question. It should be like 50-50, right? It should be like, I want to get my body right and I need my mental cues to help prepare my body for this way and, these mechanics. But I feel like it really depends on the day and like how you feel, because there might be some days where you might feel like trash and you're like, dude, I might need to put like 70% of my like routine and my warm up into like just foaming and stretching. Whereas some days you're like, dude, my body feels great, and you're like, you know, I'm gonna work on, you know, corrective exercises and really getting my body, you know, moving the correct way instead of just like feeling better, you know. So I think really it depends on really how your body and your mind feels that given day.
At what point did you learn that? Because I mean, that's not that easy to do, right? Like to realize it's not just that your body's not going to feel great all the time, and figuring out,
Mm-hmm.
oh, am I stiff here? Am I not getting, you know, hitting the ball outside? Like, where did you kind of realize, okay, this is my problem today. I need to do that. Like, at what phase in your career
Mm-hmm.
were you able to just, instead of like outwork everything, you were like, okay, this is what fixes that. This is what fixes that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably say like the past couple of years, to be honest with you, because, you know, as a young player, you go in there and you're just there to battle and battle and battle and kind of, you know, I'm going to take the practice into the game. But as you get older, you realize that like the game should be practice in a way of like, if you can, okay, like make this sound good. Like if you can make the practice almost as like harder than the game, and you can make your like training before then to where like I'm overcorrecting my hip this way to be able to keep my hip closed to when I swing. Like if I can make a drill that can make it harder to do that in practice, then for me in the game, it's going to be easier. And I've always been that way. Like there's some people that like they need it to be easy and be like, you know, I need some nice ground balls in here and there, and you know, I need soft BP. Like no, like I would much rather someone just smash me ground balls as hard as they can. So then when it's the game time, I'm like, well, I've already caught a ball at 110 miles an hour. Not too many guys are going to hit it harder than that. So now I
Yeah.
have that confidence of, oh, before the game, I already had my routine over my manager was just smoking balls to me, you know, left or right, this and that. So now when the game comes, I'm just like, whatever.
It sounds to me like it's a lot of confidence for you. It's being able to check off,
Mm-hmm.
okay, my body's here today, and I already established
Yes,
that, so now I can just kind of play the game. That's what it sounds like
exactly.
from the outside as you're kind of talking.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, I just draw a blank on what I wanted to talk about. I really loved what you were saying there. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Okay, so we were just talking about the routine stuff. What about the mental side? How is there? How do you kind of get yourself mentally ready for the game, or is it just the same thing, just confidence for you?
Mm-hmm. You know, right now it's awesome because, you know, we get all the scouting reports for the pitchers like the day of, like before we even get to the stadium. So it's nice to be able to look at all of his analytics and see how he pitches. And we have video and stuff like that. So I'm able to create a plan before I even go to the stadium. So for me, it's like I'm already thinking about how I'm going to attack this pitcher before I've even had lunch. So
So does that change? Okay, before lunch. So that means, when do you hit BP?
usually at home, we'll hit BP at full like 3:45, 4 o'clock, something like that.
Okay, so that means lunch is around noon, one ish. So does
Yeah.
that mean that you're changing your approach, or not your approach, your routine ever based off what you're going to face today, or you stick to your approach?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like a guy like, you know, if it's like this guy has he's more of a sinker baller guy than a guy who, you know, keeps a four seam up. Like that day in my routine, like I'm gonna really, really work on staying connected and making sure that my head, you know, goes shoulder to shoulder. For me, I'm like a big shoulder to shoulder guy. So like when I swing, if my chin doesn't get like connected to my back shoulder at the end of my swing, I pull off, like I have no chance. So like if I know that I'm facing like a heavy sink guy, I'm like, I really need to focus on bearing my shoulder or my chin into my shoulder so that I'll have a shot of being able to stay on pitches that I think only are moving this much, but in reality, they're moving that much.
I love how you talked about shoulder to shoulder. And to me, what that tells me is you have found your cues. Because realistically, if you tell somebody else, hey, stay shoulder to shoulder, they're going to be like, what the heck does that mean? So that's what you tell yourself. What percentage do you, when you've done hitting lessons before, I'm assuming it's just
Yes.
every baseball guy has, especially at
Mm-hmm.
our kind of level. Um, how much is it feel versus cues versus just like brute mechanics? Like, how do you find that glue for kids when you're teaching them?
You know, for me, I'm still trying to figure out the kids because nowadays it's such a new generation. Like just being able to work with a high school kid that's 15 and then a kid that's 10, such a big
Those are
difference.
totally different
It's
worlds.
like
Yeah.
it's like
One, you're just letting them have fun.
100%.
The other one, you're actually trying to teach them baseball. Like,
Yeah, and the mindset too is just completely different. Like I feel like for kids that are, older, I feel like you definitely need to have the mechanics, but I like to work with players that, already kind of have the background of like, well, what they want to do, because I like to really talk more about the mental side of it, because
yes.
I felt like in high school, it was like, for me, I was better than everybody else. So it was like, I can hit everything, right? Like a guy throws a ball in the outside corner at 85, like it's not that big of a deal with the metal bat. Like you can do whatever. I felt like I would have had more success earlier at the pro level if I already would have had an approach and like where I was looking to hit. Like if I would have took more time, especially in a summer ball, because I get like, like your senior season or whatever you want to produce really well and get signed. But I feel like summer ball and maybe even years beforehand, if my dad and I would have realized like having an actual approach on like where I'm trying to hit the ball and what zone I'm trying to hit, I think it would have made it easier for me in the professional rankings, because I wouldn't have been just like trying to figure out where do I hit the ball the best. Like I already had that not mentality, but I would have had that knowledge into what I can do best.
I love how you brought that up. And as you were saying that to me, I started to think about how do you really know what is your zone? Like, are you an up and away? Are you a down and in? Are you an out and away? Kind of like, how did you figure out what your actual hotspot is?
So, we have Oasis with the A's, right? And
And you don't have to
I
give away
thought
any of your good stuff for pitchers not to pitch at
no,
you. Just in general, like the phase for you.
yeah, no, it was on Oasis, and it's like the A's scouting thing. And what you can do is you can plug in like, if I hit a ball at 90 miles an hour, what's my average? And it'll tell you. So I was like, okay, well, like if I hit a ball at 90 miles an hour and it's middle away, what's my average? And I thought it was going to be like really high. It was like 210, and I'm like,
You're talking
wow.
about
I was like, I thought,
exit velo off the bat versus
uh,
average.
yeah. Well, no, I'm just talking about, so like I wanted to see like so it was like all this has, so like I put 90 miles an hour in their exit velo, so it takes all of my hits accumulative, um, and so it has all the video and everything, and it'll be the strike zone, and it'll be all the dots
Yeah.
that are like the pitches, and it'll be like how I hit it would be 90 miles an hour. So I thought that pitches middle away I handled better. So like my whole approach growing up in pro ball was middle away. And when I put in the quadrant of like middle in, my batting average was freaking like 350. So I'm going, wait, why am I looking for pitches away?
At what zone was this? Like, at what point in your career did you do this?
This was 2019.
Oh, okay. Just no, 2017, which is when I played with you. I saw you as a pool guy.
Mhm.
That so go ahead off of that.
Yeah, so like you're a catcher, so you see that. But for me in my head, I think I'm a guy who goes middle oppo. And I felt like, man, it's like you guys have this technology. Should have been telling me a long time ago, like where I should be sitting, sitting in zones. But yeah, in 2019, I wasn't playing very much, and I was just like, I was going in the Oasis, and I was like, well, like let's just see what happens. So I, put in all the numbers, and it's like 90 miles an hour. If I sit middle in, what are my numbers? It was exponentially way better than it was middle away. So I'm like, okay, well, what if I only hit the ball at 88 miles an hour? And the numbers were still high middle in. It was like 300, over 300. I was like, well, what about 85? And in A's organization, they want to hit the ball 90 miles an hour every time. Like that's their exit deal. The Rangers is 95, but the A's is 90. So I'm like, okay, so if I'm from 90 to 85, what's my average? And it was so much more than middle away. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit middle in now. And this was kind of in the beginning of the season. I might have been hitting 220 or whatever. And then once I figured out that that my best way to hit is to sit middle in. Then I pretty much hit 300 for the whole year. So then, yeah, it was
That's so,
nuts.
well, two things. One, I didn't even know about every organization has, is that what they categorize as like hard contact? If it's like from 85 to 90 and then vice versa?
Well, the A's was 90, Rangers was 95, but in my head, I was like, for me at that age, I was like, for me to hit a ball 90 miles an hour every time was like me trying to swing as hard as I could. So I was like, what about if I just try to put a decent swing on the ball and I just hit it 85? Like I wanted to see like how low I could go in the exit velo to where I could still hit 300 sitting in that zone. So it came out to be like, if I was sitting in the zone and I hit a ball 80 miles an hour, I'm still hitting 300. So I was like, wow, like I should never not hit middle in, because if I swing middle in, it's a fucking hit every time almost.
That's so, I mean, there's so many different avenues to that to me were very impressive, from the fact that you were able to realize that. And I say it because I struggled with this a lot, that always swinging hard does not always mean the best thing. And like swinging 100% is not the answer always. It's like, how do you find that fluidness versus that quickness versus that just brute hardness? And for you, it was like hitting the 90 miles an hour means I have to swing as hard as I can. Doesn't mean I'm going to get a hit, or doesn't mean I'm going to get quality contact. So how
Yeah.
did you, was it the analytics, was it the numbers that kind of made you that realization?
Yes, it was, because if it wasn't for the numbers or anything, I still would have thought I was a middle away hitter, and who knows where I'd be right now, you know? So
So,
even
if
right
we
now
were
in
to take a
AAA,
step,
it's middle in.
so if we were to take a step back for kids right now, because once again, one of the big goals of the podcast is to kind of help educate kids out there. How would you be able to do that without that? Any ideas?
I would say, trying to think. I mean, honestly, I think the best way for you to be able to tell that would be, for whatever age group you are, what you do is you skid a machine. You have to get on a machine and you have to like hit the speeds that are maybe a little bit higher than your level. And whatever pitch that you can handle the best, whether you pop it up or hit on the ground or anything, whatever zones that you feel like you hit the best, that's probably going to be it. Like at a younger level, like my dad like always said, I want you to hit the ball, up the middle away. So that was my whole entire approach. But little did he know, like I have so much torque in my swing that like pitches inside I can obliterate. But he wanted me to be like kind of like a singles like hitter, because he's like, you're not going to be a big guy, so like don't want you to really work on pulling the ball. That's what guys that are big do. And I was just like that kind of generation. So I would say, one, don't, if there's a parent watching this, don't like put your kid in a box yet, because you never know like what's going to happen. Because like for you, like me and you are pretty much the same height, but like you're going to hit the ball way harder than me because you're fucking 20 times stronger than me. So like your approach is going to be different than mine. But like as when we're kids though, like who knew that you were going to be this big, right? But if I would have been that big from the get-go, my dad would have wanted me to be a pull hitter. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So,
And I'll even add more to it. Like even for me, like I was two different hitters. I was a hitter from the left side, completely different than the right side. And I would try to mimic the same swings, but my approaches were different. So exactly like you're saying, two different guys. I'm saying one exact same guy, two different approaches. So don't put anybody in a box. I definitely agree with you on
exactly.
that. I also,
And for switch hitters too, like, I see a lot of times like guys want to try to keep the same swing like on both sides of the plate, but like it's impossible, because like your lefty swing and your righty swing, your body mechanics are going to work different. Like for me, my right hip opens up earlier than my left hip. So like if I was a switch hitter, I know that when I hit lefty, I have to really make sure that my front side stays closed. But like if I hit right-handed, like I know that like I would have to think about opening up, because if I don't, like I'm going to be too stiff.
100%. And the game itself is different. The approach that a lefty guy has, I mean, let's talk about what five different situational baseball, move the guy over, hit him over, kind of. Most of those things for a lefty are pull side ball. For a righty, it's oppo. If you can even take it another step, to just say from when you're taking a swing from the left side, you're already pulling yourself out because you have first base there, versus from the right side.
Exactly.
So the whole game in itself is different. So I used to struggle with that a lot, because my pops didn't really like my pops really never really played, and he always wanted me to
Mhm.
have the same swing, and I always thought that that was the thing. I would like remember recording myself, mirroring it, and putting one on top of each other, trying to like mimic it. That wasn't the right thing till I realized, hey, if you're a power guy from the right side and you want to, kind of drive the ball a little bit more, and from the left side you're going to be more right center, that's okay. Whatever works,
Mhm.
works.
Exactly. Um, Going off of that too, like, um, it was a good point. Like, trying to blank on what I wanted to say because it
You're good. So
makes so much sense.
I'll add another little thing that you were also kind of from what we were just talking about. As you were talking, because I was trying to kind of set you up to see if you came up with something differently. I also thought about, just like for you was the analytical side. If you're a parent listening to this, you can run the numbers for your kid. It's not that hard.
Hmm.
Look at what the kid did. Did he pull the ball? Did he hit, and try to have some. If you're watching the game and when your kid's hitting, the ball's middle if it was away or if it was in, and just start
Hmm.
getting that data. Just be like, okay, in the last 50 at bats, you had 40 balls that were on the outside and you did this versus that. And maybe that's the way you can do it. You don't have to have Oasis where you're getting bat speed off of that. You can look at a ball and be like, okay, that was hit well, that was not. You're not running for a whole organization, you're just running it for your kid. So that can still work for them.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And going off of that, like with the hitting side of it, and kind of knowing what like your best zone is. Honestly, like if you want to figure that out, another way would be just to go play baseball and go, okay, today I'm just gonna sit for a ball middle away. So like whether you strike out 4 times, it doesn't matter. Like you're trying to focus on which pitches do I hit the best. So you might have a tournament that week, and you're just like, you know what, this day I'm gonna try to sit middle away, and that's all I'm gonna try to hit, whether it's curveball, fastball, etc. See how you do. If you do okay, that's fine. Now I'm gonna swing middle in, and it's just like you can kind of figure out that way to where you can test it and say you can just put it into a real game and go, well, I'm just gonna sit in this zone all day. And your parent and yourself, you can't get mad only unless you don't swing at a pitch that's middle in. You know what I'm saying? That's the only time that you can, get upset at yourself is when you swing at a pitch outside of your zone. But like if you're sitting in a zone and you're not getting that pitch, just don't swing at it.
And that's
That's
pretty
the only
much
that's
what
the only way you're gonna figure it out.
you guys do through minor league ball. Like I especially want to say maybe more for like high school guys, because you're kind of being developed throughout that journey, is figuring out all that stuff. So why not start to do that when you're younger?
It's the biggest separator. It's the biggest separator. Like, they always talk about intangibles, what separates you, because you and I might have the same talent, but who has the separator that's going to push themselves ahead of the pack. And I feel like if you can get this type of stuff out of the way early, it's only going to make it easier when you go to college and get to pro ball. Because I mean, if your goal is to play Division I baseball, like you need to know what's going on. And a lot of people say that, you know, I'm a beast my senior year of high school, and then I got to freshman year and I kind of sucked because it's a different style of playing. Everything's faster and quicker. Well, the whole point of having an approach and sitting in a zone is to slow the game down. That's the whole entire point of it. Because if I'm sitting the whole entire plate, guys who are throwing 95, you can't cover the outside corner and the inside corner at the same time. You're
Yeah.
going to get destroyed. So how can I slow the game down? Oh, I sit middle in. So if it,
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I would even add more to it. That's on the hitting side of that. There's the whole like just baseball in general side. For example, for me, when I went to University of Miami, I mean, in high school I hit like 500, and went to Miami thinking I knew stuff and I was good. Bro, I couldn't figure out bunt defenses and first and thirds. Like I just could not wrap. And I like to think I'm a smart guy, and I could not wrap my head around the foundational just principle of why is the bunting to third base now? Why is that third baseman coming forward? Okay, what am I supposed to be thinking there? How am I supposed to be like? And all of that stuff made me look like an idiot in front of everybody. And then the coach starts, bitching at you, and now you're in a negative mentality. And then you go to hit, and now you're pissed, and it just all trickles down. Same thing as like, why do you move a guy over? Why am I thinking, in between first and second base? Why does that matter? Like all of that is so important. And I feel like the game is changing a little bit. Like there's being more development baseball going on, but before that wasn't the case. And if you don't really know that, like what you said, those are the intangibles. Like when you have a coach that watches a kid with men on second base, no outs, and is really focusing on driving the ball the other way, kind of moving the guy over in a situational game, and he grounds out to second base, a real baseball fan knows what's going on. They're not like, oh, that guy
Mhm.
hit a ground ball to second base. No, like he knows
You
his
know what's going
approach. He
on.
knows what he's going on. So
Yeah, exactly. And the earlier that you can learn that, the better, because I mean, like you said, like you're a beast in high school, you go to college, and you're like, what the fuck is a first and third? Like, how do I do this? Like, what's this bunt defenses and all that stuff? And it happens all the time, you know? And it's like, and it, and it's what did it do? It sped the game up, right? It sped
so
practice
much.
up for no reason. And it's like, if you would have had that knowledge just in high school, your senior year, if you would have learned it late your senior year, going into college, you already would have had a little bit of that knowledge that already would have slowed it down just a little bit. It's tough in any type of profession or school or whatever you do in life where you just hop into the fire and just jump into it and have no idea what's going on. Just like, you know, for like a guy going to go talk to a girl in the bar, like you're going to have that anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen. You're just putting yourself out there. It's the same idea. It's getting sped up. So the more that you can just practice and just keep your headspace in the correct spot, the easier it's going to be for you. And being able to learn and trusting, it's hard, you know, because there's so much knowledge now. Being able to trust your coach and being able to listen to him, and also being able to listen to him and not not argue or disagree with him, but being able to like have your own opinion on what's going on. Because I feel like a lot of the time where coaches get in trouble with kids and where kids start losing respect is like it's either their way or the highway. And nowadays there's so much information to where a kid can go, oh, are you sure? And go look it up within seconds on what you're talking about, and they can call bullshit immediately.
Yeah.
So, you know, being able to have that relationship on like parents and coaches need to do a better job of having a dialogue instead of just saying you need to do this is why I like to do this. There's other options as well, but this is why I like to do it and why. And then, you know, you can have that conversation with the kid and like, what do you think? And I think it makes it a lot easier to where kids are going to be able to start thinking for themselves more instead of just going like, this is what the coach says, this, because I'm sure there's some stuff in college that your coach said that in pro ball you can't do. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be nice to have that open dialogue from the beginning than later on.
Yeah, it's just understanding why they're telling you certain things instead of it just being, it's just kind of like your parent just being like, oh, this is it because of that. No, it's happening
Well,
because of
why?
this.
Because I said. Mhm.
Yeah, we all hate that, like
Yeah.
it is what it is. So I wanted to throw, I was supposed to ask you a couple of these questions earlier. So I'll ask you two main tips that you would kind of give to high school guys that are looking to sign out of high school.
Definitely say um, do like the all American stuff. Don't do too many of them. I would say like do a camp, like one or two camps a year that's like in your neck of the woods. Just like kind of get your name out there. Like in my opinion, I think it's eyewash. I feel like you should be able to go and just be a baseball player and stuff. But I think just for the opportunity that all the all American stuff and all that stuff does, I think it's good for kids now, you know, just getting scouted and whatnot. So I feel like definitely do, you know, some of the all American stuff, and don't, and like I said, kind of said earlier, don't put a box on yourself, you know, because I think now with having guys like Pedroia and Altuve and guys that can't hit the ball out of the ballpark, like you don't have to be big and strong to hit balls 400 feet. It's like how you know how to use your body. So learn how to like do that before putting a box on yourself and saying, well, you know, I'm only going to be this type of player because somebody said so. It's like, that doesn't make any sense because guys, you know, you really don't start growing into your body until what, 23, 24 is when you really get your man strength, 25, even later than that, right? Like,
Yeah,
so you really don't know your true potential until you get older. So just whatever your dream is on whatever player you want to be, keep it that way. But you have to be realistic also. But
absolutely, absolutely. All right, another thing for you. What are two main things that changed your career in baseball?
um,
Whether that
Yeesh.
be a routine, whether that be like two main things that like would have made you the player you are today.
Definitely the Oasis thing with just like the scouting and just real understanding what my zone is. And then really just experience. I mean, the more experience that you can get as a player, the better off I think that you're going to be. Like growing up in Oregon, in like the Northwest, the colder states, like you get rain all off season, so we don't really get the experience piece on playing as much because we only have the summertime. So like the kids that are living in colder states, like if you can like play in a couple tournaments during the wintertime and save up some money for that, I think it's good because being able to keep the baseball flow in your body, I think is going to be able to it's going to be able to make you better, being able to not just think, oh, like I'm a cage bomb hitter because all I do is hit in the cage, where it's like these kids that are playing every day on the field, they understand like you can't think about hitting home runs every single time because it's not going to work in a game. But if you're just
Yeah.
practicing that all winter, you have no idea. So I think just experiencing playing baseball. Practice is practice, but experience playing the game and having fun.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Are you listening to me through your headphones or through?
Headphones.
Okay, 'cause there's like a lot of feedback that just started to happen. I wonder if your headphones actually are still working. Okay, no worries. So another quick question for you. How important was routine for you? And I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but how
Mhm.
important?
Now it's very important. I feel like I wake up and my legs are always hurting, so it's nice to go in and get my routine going and just getting my body ready for the day. Like it's what everybody does. They say it when you get drafted. Every big leaguer has a routine and and like you want to not do it, but it's true. Like everyone has their own thing, and I think being able to find the best the best routine for you and your body is gonna make you a better player. And I think being able to have a routine just for like your personal life and just you as a person is going to help you become a better person, because life is all about flowing. It's all about that it's not about being stagnant. So the more that you can be flowing and have your body become one within the earth and universe, that's all the routine does. It's getting your mind in the correct headspace to be able to go perform for whatever you're doing for that day.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, now I'll ask you. I'll take another step forward. How important is sleep for you?
Dude, sleeping that's all I'd like to do. I mean, you playing these games all year, like your body's gonna be tired, and the more that you stay up late, want to be on TikTok or whatever, it's just gonna diminish. Um, it's gonna diminish like the positive outcomes that you could have, because like if you're not getting your rest and your body isn't feeling right, you really don't have any shot. And if you're worrying about how tired you are and you're not having energy, like you're going to think about that when you're playing, and it's going to be an easy excuse to go, well, I went 0 for 4 today because I'm feeling sluggish. And it's like, well, why did you feel sluggish? Oh, because you're staying up all night watching Netflix. When it's like the sleep aspect, if you're really dedicated to what you're doing, no matter what it is, sleep is going to be the number one thing for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I'll take it another step for you. How important is your nutrition?
Nutrition is very, very important. And the older you get, the more you're going to realize that. Like, but in the minor leagues, it's tough because, like you get your food during the day that you have, which is pretty good food, but then afterwards, after the game, it's like, you get done late. So by 12:30 at night, in the night morning, like you're hungry again. So you got to DoorDash fast food. So you try to stay as healthy as you can, and like the best, the best nutrition that you can, like through fast food. But I mean, it's kind of tough during the season.
They don't really do a good job at all kind of teaching you guys about nutrition. They kind of just give
Not
you
at
the
all.
food, but they don't really teach you. I just noticed that. I just thought about that.
Yeah,
Which might be a good thing. That's a really point. That should be an organizational thing, trying to figure out how to educate their guys on nutrition more and how to
there should be a
financially.
class.
Yeah, I don't worry, I'll make it. I'll give me time. Give me time. I'll make it. Um, Yeah, dude. And then I guess my last little thing for you here on like the question spectrum is how do you deal with the mental failures of the game?
Just have to realize that it happens. Um, you're not going to be perfect every single time. And I think the earlier that you can realize that baseball is way harder than you think, because like you play for so long, and it's like take batting practice all the time. You have all of, you have your ego that you have. Everyone has it that plays this game, and you have to understand like what is reality and what's not. Um, so if you go over 10, is it really over 10, or did you hit the ball hard? Like, did you strike out? Like, what were the outcomes of your failures? Because even if you hit the ball 100 miles an hour, sometimes it's going to get caught and you're out, and you're like sitting there going, what the hell? But you could either say, well, I did everything right, or you could go, wow, I hit a 100-mile-an-hour ground ball right to the second baseman. I should have thought about hitting the ball higher up in the air, this and that.
You,
And now all of a sudden
you can't
you're
control
out of the
that.
game. You can't
Yeah.
control it. You can't
Yeah.
control it. So being able, like for the mental aspects and with the failures, being able to control the controllables is the number one thing
Woo!
that you can worry about.
I love that. Control the controllables. That's from Mind Gym. Did you read the book or
Mm.
you just kind of where'd you get that from?
I just got it just from playing,
Yeah,
just
that's
from
a
playing.
huge it's a huge quote that goes around the game. That's where it comes from Mind Gym. It's a book. It's awesome. It's so true. You
Yeah.
can't control what you can't control. So why stress over it? And that's like huge for
Mhm.
life, for everything. So
For everything. And like, man, kids right now watching like control the controllables. It goes with baseball and life. Like, look at what's going on in the world right now, and it's like you can totally worry about that, and it can affect you every single day. But there's nothing that you can do about that right now. What you can do is be the best person that you can be that day. That's all you can control. And if you focus on that, you're going to be living a good life if you can just control on what you can do to be happy, not what else is going on in the world.
absolutely, absolutely, man. All right, let's take a last little. Actually, we got two more points. So, for the strength side, so I want to talk a little bit, and we don't have to get too much into it, but how for you, through all the phases that you've been through, how have you kept growing as a player on the strength and conditioning side of stuff?
Just challenging yourself every off season. I mean, it's easy, to go in there and go, I'm just going to work on my max squat this year and do that, and you do all that. But I think the best way for me is being able to, talk to a trainer, and saying, hey, like, this is how my body feels, this is how my body moves. What can we do to make my weaknesses my strengths and continue my strengths and make them stronger? I feel like a lot of people miss that. They feel like, oh, they have the Eric Sims where it's like, I'm just getting fucking big and I'm gonna hit bombs, I'm gonna throw hard, which is true, very true. You need to get big and strong to freaking hit balls far and throw balls hard. But there's also other things. So it's like, what are these little small exercises that I can do that are gonna be able to kind of make it an intangible? Because for me, like, I was getting, my back super strong this past off season, but I like totally just forgot to do rotator cuff exercises because I'm like, oh, I'm getting big. My lats are getting big, my delts are getting big. Like, we're good, but I forgot for the throwing muscles, I forgot to do those. So my arm hurt for 4 months during the season. Like, it just started feeling fine because I started doing those little exercises. So being able to know like what your body needs to be able to perform and be able to get stronger, I think is key. Because if you just go out there just to lift a lift, it's not going to help anything. Like, there has to be a plan and a reason why you're doing it.
Absolutely. Like, what's the point of you gaining 20 pounds, coming back for the off season, and only making it a month in the season because you got hurt or because you're dealing with nagging injuries? That's part
Exactly.
of the trainer's job, is to not only put the weight on you, but keep you functionally and, movable. That way you're
Yeah.
not going to get hurt. That way, because let's be real, like, especially you guys, middle infielders, you're putting yourself in some weird positions when you're diving for balls and quickly getting up to throw from your knees and whatever the case may be. You have to be agile, not just massive, but you also need to
Mm-hmm.
drive the ball 400 feet. So it's finding that,
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
those.
It's funny. It's so true. It's like you have to be able to be quick and agile, but then you still got to hit the ball far
And
and
then you still
hard.
got to steal 30 bags a year because otherwise, what
Mm-hmm.
are you doing?
Exactly.
So my last little point for you, brother. Talk to me about the YouTube. Talk to me what you guys been working on. Kind of plug yourself in there and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so been working with the Baseball Bat Bros on YouTube, and pretty much, not pretty much, all we do is just we test baseball bats. So from BB core bats to wood bats, we'll test, and we'll base it off of three things. It'll be swing weight, so how heavy the bat is, and like where the pivot point of the bat is going to be at the end of the bat, is going to be more towards the hands. Then we have sweet spot, so just kind of like in total, like how big is a sweet spot? Like when I hit the ball, like if I hit it down on the hands, does it hurt? If not, then it's like the sweet spot's bigger. But if the ball does hurt on the hands, and the sweet spot's smaller, and then from there we just do power. So it's just total power. Like when we hit the ball, how far does the ball go? So we base it off of those three, and we do a lot of rankings and everything like that for every single bat. And pretty much our whole entire thing is we want kids to be able to see what bats are good out there without having to spend $500 on making a mistake.
Amen.
Because these bats, I mean, we have a hat right now, and it's make bats $200 again, because these companies, they're charging $450, $500 for a bat, and it's like, dude, like these kids don't even know if the bat's good or not, but you're charging all this money, and
And that just
so we like to
becomes
just
marketing, and that just becomes hype, and now becomes all that. Like, so you guys are actually
exactly.
bringing out and I love the fact that, I mean, there's two different sides to that. Just the aluminum bat side, like you're actually testing it out, but then there's the whole wood bat side. How many like I was throwing a couple bats the other day, and I was just telling them about the 271, the 243s, the ITs 41. Like they were like, "What are you speaking another language?" Like all these models is just crazy, you know?
Yeah. And what's funny is like the models that you like see on the market, there's probably 50 other models that you don't know of.
Oh yeah, everybody has
And
their own like custom thing that they like. Oh, I
yeah,
want a 221 with like a 110 handle, and
yep.
it's wild.
It's unbelievable. And but yeah, I mean these companies, they'll send us their top models or whatever for us to test, and we'll just kind of tell the public like what we think about them. And most of the time we really like the bats, but then sometimes we'll have some of these companies that will come in and be like, our bat's better than freaking the DeMarini Voodoo, who's been like the reigning champion ever since I've been a kid. Like
That was
if
my
you didn't
bad in
swing
high school. Yeah, that was
if you
my
didn't swing
thing.
a if you didn't swing a Voodoo, dude, like I don't care. Like I've swung the stealths, I've done all that. No, Voodoos will always be king, and they still are. So I mean, you'll have some of these companies that'll be like, we're better than the Voodoo, da da da. So then we'll like judge these bats like even harder, because it's like you're talking all this shit saying you're better than the Voodoo, and your bat sucks.
Yeah,
And it's like, dude, what are you guys doing? So
there
it's
was
kind of
only
funny
one
in that
bat that
aspect.
that I really remember. I don't know, because you're younger than me, but do you ever remember the like the we called the red cherry, the cherry bomb? Did you ever?
It's what
It was
what
a Nike bat that it was just red. It was
oh, the
pre
all red Nike bat, yeah.
bro. That was
Yeah.
pre BB court. That was like
Hmm.
that bat was it was stupid. One, it
That
was
was
you
like
couldn't use it in the cages because it was like you
so loud.
so bad. But bro, that would pop off that thing. It was not. It was shouldn't be legal.
That was like, I'm pretty sure they came out with those bats when U of O like got their baseball back. I'm pretty sure like that's when they decided to make baseball bats again, because that was like right before I went to high school. I feel like
You're what class are you? What year?
2014.
Okay, so you're 2 years younger than me, and that
Mm-hmm.
was my 20. I was 2012, and 2012 was the first year of BB Core, so that would have been
Yeah.
2011. Would have been that year.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if that kind of gives you an idea.
Okay.
Um, um, so I one more quick question though. Like, how did you guys come up with that idea? Like, who started it, and what happened with the YouTube channel?
So during quarantine, I was just watching Facebook, and then my friend Will Taylor, who runs the whole channel, um, the Baseball Bat Pros came up. I'm like, what is this? And I watched the video, and it was cool. They're testing bats, they're hitting home runs, like they're just having a bunch of fun. And I just going down the comments, and I could tell they're getting a lot of traction. And I was like, wow, this is gonna be big. Like this is really cool. Like they're giving kids kind of an outlet on like what bats are good, and it's a fun channel. So I just hit them up and I said, hey, like this is awesome, just keep doing it, like don't stop. And he hits me up and he's like, hey man, like would you want to be a part of a video and all that stuff? And I was like, hell yeah. So then I filmed a video, and ever since then, it was last July in quarantine. So, and ever since then, I've been rocking with him and been making videos, and it's been a blast.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so much fun. I've seen a bunch of you guys' videos, from the Oregon one to a bunch of different like random high schools you guys are hitting. So it
Mm-hmm.
seems fun, bro, and it's allowing you just to swing and just kind of talk smack some, you know?
Literally, it's just. I mean, that's the best part. I think that's why people like it the most, is because we're um we're very unbiased on the
Yeah,
bats, and you can tell that we're out there having fun, and it's just like the boys taking BP. Like it's nothing is
like
forced
straight
or
up the
anything.
boys, like straight
Yeah,
up
it's
the
just
boys.
that's all it is. Like, and I think that's why people like it, is because they can tell that it's genuine. And I feel like nowadays, especially with all kind of like the fake content culture that we have now, I think
Yeah.
for a lot of kids, it's nice to have like a realistic baseball channel to where guys are just taking BPs. It's fun swings, they're hitting home runs, and they're just swinging a bunch of different bats.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I love everything about it. You guys are killing it. Um, Trey, anything else you want to kind of leave any young guy out there? Anything you kind of whenever you speak to guys, anything you kind of like to leave them? I don't know, just kind of leaving it at the platform for you.
I would like to say, like, just keep playing no matter what anybody says about you. And just kind of like we spoke on earlier about being kind of a bulldog. I feel like even if you are a bigger guy, being able to have that mentality where it's kind of an fu mentality, I think it's gonna help you perform better, because you're not just kind of sitting there with your with your heels in the ground. Like you're actually going to be aggressive. I would also say, keep having fun. And if you're not having fun, take a step back. You don't, I think a lot of the times what happens is kids, they get put in these situations where they play so much, and, they kind of get burnt out. Don't quit, just take a break, whether that's a month or 2 months, because, after the pro season, what do? We take a month, 2 months off. And either we lift right ahead, right away, or, some guys wait. But I think if you're constantly just practicing all year round and playing all year round, like you eventually need a little bit of a break. So I think being able to just kind of take some time off and be able to do other activities is good as well.
No, absolutely. And there's I know we're from two different areas, but here in the Miami area, it's a very toxic environment when it comes to that. Kids are playing all year long,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends. It's just like, damn, I wish I would have taken a couple weeks off every so often and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of enjoyed life a little bit. Because yeah, work hard. Don't get me wrong. You know, you should work out every day, hit every day, do all your things, but being able to actually take a break at some point is necessary, not only for your body but for your mind as well. And if you're not enjoying the game, like, why are you playing anymore? Like, figure that out,
Exactly.
you know?
And I think that the more excited that I get for the season is the more I miss it. So it's like, if I'd taken, for the off season, it's like the first couple months you're like, oh, thank God the season over. But then once it hits like December, January, you're like, man, I want the season to come back again. You know what I'm saying? So being able to um, stay focused in what you're doing, but being able to just kind of put it off to the side, I think is good for you. And being able to learn that at a younger age is going to honestly help you later on in life, because no matter what you're doing, like, you know, if you want to be a basketball player, like that's cool and all, but you're going to have to take some time off on your feet sometimes. And I think for baseball, it's like all we want to do is hit. We want to hit. But eventually, your mechanics are going to go to waste, because all you're doing is hitting. You're not taking the time off. So your brain is just going to be, it's going to want to hit the ball to, like, my lat hurts because I freaking took 700 swings in the past 3 days when I didn't need to at all. We've all been there.
Yep,
And
yep, yep.
now your body's getting used to, having to overcorrect itself because your lat hurts, just for an example. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I've actually hurt myself every single year that I played because of that right there. I broke my hand, I hurt my back, I pulled out my rib. So I definitely agree with you on that.
and at that time you feel like it's the best idea. I need to freaking grind it out. I need to hit, I need to grind. And it's like, honestly, the best thing for you is to not do anything right now. It's so being able to find that happy medium is going to benefit your career honestly. So
Absolutely. But all right, man, kind of plug yourself in, where they can find you, where they can message you if they have any questions or whatever you want to kind of do right there.
Really, I just have Instagram, and it's Tlo3. It's TLOE3 on Instagram, and then you can just watch us on the Baseball Bat Bros on YouTube.
Perfect, man. Hey, it was a pleasure to have you, man. It's been a while since we've caught up, and it's been a while since we've talked baseball, and you shared so much knowledge and so much experience. And this guy's literally a phone call away from being in the league right now. So we're kind of fingers crossed. Keep doing your thing, man. Keep putting up those numbers, and I know you'll get there. So just keep grinding, brother. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode and learned something valuable from it. If you did, smash that like button, as it helps us reach more people just like yourself. But before you go, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on the bell notification, as my dedication to this YouTube channel and to this podcast is about to explode, and I don't want you guys to miss any of it out. So hit that bell notification, turn that subscriber on, and I know I said it backwards, but who cares? You guys know what I mean. See you guys next time.